What's going on YouTube, Facebook, you subscribers and viewers of this video? Bill Mack here with another episode with Pro Wrestling Unleashed. This is Impact Wrestling wrap up. This is for March 30th, 2017. Pretty good episode of Impact Wrestling. I know Impact is trying to turn the corner and begin basically of trying to create storylines and stuff, and changes and whatnot, and make the best of their roster and what they can do. You see some familiar faces associating themselves with Jeff Jarrett back in it. So episode was really good. It looks like from what I'm seeing, we're going to see from time to time Karen Jarrett's going to be more of an on-air figure, it looks like. Still haven't seen Jeff yet. Don't know if he'll be a part of it. Let's hope he don't. The more they can stay out of it, let the wrestlers handle it, I think the better to be. But having Karen there is not so bad. So let's get right on into it. We see that basically Karen Jarrett is in the middle of the ring, and she calls out Sienna because what she has said has happened is that since Maria Kanellis Bennett left, that's left a spot in within them. And remember, Maria played this overbearing person that led the Knockouts division that was really kind of bullying Allie around and whatnot. Now they're saying since she's gone that Sienna is the one that's causing the problems with a lot of stuff going on backstage, that somebody had told her that. So then Sienna comes out, and then Sienna gets in her face and tells her that she says, well, who is this telling you all this stuff? I don't know what you're talking about. I bet you it's Allie that's doing all this talking. Well, then Karen Jarrett tells her to step back, get out of her space. She says, she starts talking, Sienna starts talking junk to Karen, and Karen says, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to apologize. And if you don't apologize, you're going to regret it. So she starts counting down, counting to 15. All of a sudden, a guy comes out, and nobody knows who it is. They're like, I wonder who that is. And then it comes out, it's end up being KM. And, I guess Don Tony from Don Tony and Kevin Castle's show had mentioned how he had wished they had signed him, months ago. So looks like he's now finally a part of the company. He says, wait a minute, you don't talk to my cousin like that. You don't disrespect my family. You're going to want to owe her an apology, and I'm going to give you to the count of 15, set 15, and you better apologize to her. So then what we see basically is he starts counting. All of a sudden, Braxton Sutter's music hits. He and Allie come out there, and they end up clearing the ring. And Karen says, I'm going to tell you what. She says, Braxton, do you want a piece of him tonight? And he says, yeah. So she says, okay, KM, I'll tell you what. Later on tonight, you're going to have a matchup with Braxton Sutter. So it looks like we're going to have what we're going to see happen in the later down the road for the in this matchup. So then we go to break, and it looks like we're going to have X Division matchup. We're going to have DJZ versus Andrew Everett. I didn't really know Andrew Everett was from Cameron, North Carolina, too, from where the Hardys were from. But apparently, he had broken away from Hurricane Helm's, regime. It's just Trevor Lee, which Trevor Lee is the X Division champion. So this was a good matchup. A lot of flips, a lot of athletic matches, ones you would typically see in a X Division matchup. I thought it was really a really good situation for them to basically, to wrestle. And, there was different things. You've seen at one point where DJ Z hits a dive onto Andrew off the top. Really cool move. We've seen Andrew end up hitting a drop kick off the top rope. And then at one point, Andrew goes for a moonsault. DJ Z puts his knees up. And DJ Z ends up rolling Andrew Everett up. Gets rolled up by Andrew Everett to get the win. Helms comes out there along with Trevor Lee and tells him it wasn't just that easy, but he says this. He says, next week you will have an opportunity. So people are implying that he means an opportunity at the X Division title. I think it means just something else. Kind of like, remember when EC3 was going through the Miracle and all these things the Miracle was throwing up, at him these things that he had to do, basically to get through to get another shot. And it's kind of, I think that's what the same thing is happening here with Adam Everett before he even gets a chance to take on Trevor Lee for that X Division title. So good matchup going on so far. They go to break and we come back, and Rosemary is giving the Knockouts burial, and she's talking about Gil Kim, and she's talking about Jade, and quite a few others, and then all of a sudden ODB's music hits. She comes out there, and then she actually congratulates Rosemary, but tells Rosemary, "Look, I'm one of the original Knockouts here. I'm a former 4-time knocked up champion." And she tells her that one day, she said, "One day I'm going to go after that." And then Rosemary says, "You think you deserve this?" The Hives, talking about her head, tend to disagree with that. So she starts sliding out. So then down comes the ropes. You see Brandy Rhodes. You see a ton of the others. You see Madison Rain, Casey Quinn, MJ, I believe MJ Jenkins is her name, and then a few others. I'm not really too familiar with some of these newer faces of the Knockouts, but they all came in the ring and they were kind of bottling Rosemary up, where they told her, they were kind of basically telling her they were there, they were going to challenge for her. And then a brawl breaks out in the middle of the ring. All of them are going after each other. Rosemary happens to slide out. ODB chases her down, and she runs up the ramp to end it. So basically, that's what that is. So she was kind of basically letting them know that you're not going to be the only one. Just because you say these others are buried, we're the Knockouts division is still alive and well. So pretty decent segment of the match, segment of the night with the Knockouts division. I still hope to see Angelina Love, because she's been out with Davey Richards, but she's not signed. So I hope that they sign her soon enough, because she's always been a part of their division. I hate that her partner, Velvet Sky, is no longer with them. But it was still Angelina Love. Having her back would be a good addition, because she's one that we recognize having. Well, we come back from the break, and Josh Matthews is still being the quote heel commentator. He's being two-faced. It's like when he's in the ring, we see him or not in the ring, but when he's talking to Borash, he's heel Josh commentator. But then he gets in there, when he's calling the matchup, he doesn't sound like a heel calling the matchup for the most part. So it's like he switches gears, and he can't play a heel very well. And whenever you have somebody that can't play that part very well, you don't need to keep trying it. Sure, he talks to JB and smack JB, but then when he gets to calling the matches, he doesn't sound like that heel commentator that you typically have. So, EC3 comes out. And remember last week, EC3 had left Karen. He says, "I'm not going to do this for your name. I'm going to do it for mine." So it looks like they were trying to turn EC3 heel. But then EC3 says, "Look, I came out here to apologize to Karen for my actions last week. I need to refocus is what I need to do. I need to be the real EC3. I need to try to go ahead and get myself refocused and dedicate myself back to it, where I can challenge for the Lashley for the championships, because I don't want to be a multiple time and be in an elite company." And he names a few people off, and then all of a sudden, James Storm comes out there, and James Storm says, "Did you hear my name? I didn't hear my name. I didn't hear my name." And what is relating to the fact that James Storm wasn't one when did not call James Storm's name as part of those he was talking about in that elite group of being multiple time champions. And then he puts over EC3 and whatnot and gives him respect. But then he says okay, back in 2002, when we started this company, where was I at? And then he was talking about he was in high school. And then he starts talking about where was he at in 04, and he was in college. And then he was, and then later on, when he was with America's Most Wanted, he said he was drinking beer and spending money. So I thought that was a pretty good promo. But I'll finish this up, folks, in just a second. Take a little pause right here. And so James Storm is talking about, about what he's done and how he's been through the company and how he feels like he deserves one more shot at the Impact Wrestling World Title, is what they're calling it. All the titles still have TNA on them, so they need to go ahead and give new titles out where they'll have Impact on them. But yeah, he was talking about this, and then they start talking about EC3, talking about these. Does the fans think that I should get it? And then James Storm talks about sections of fans on his side that he asked him should he get it, and so then he starts pointing on what he basically ended up saying is that EC3 feels that the fans should be the ones to decide who gets the heavyweight, the shot at Lashley for the Impact Wrestling World Title. So that remains to be seen on what that exactly means. But that's what EC3 mentions as they basically go out. So now looks like we're going to see a matchup between looks like probably EC3 and James Storm maybe for next week. So we'll see how that goes with that. We come up after the break and they show the feud that has been going on lately between Cody and Moose and how it elevated back to when Moose had been training Brandy since Cody had been away and trying to help her out and stuff. And he gets all upset and he takes it the wrong way. Brandy's upset because he's jealous and she's been trying to tell him it's nothing like that. She loves him. She's married to him and stuff. So basically, Cody last week challenged Moose to Moose's Impact Wrestling Grand Champion. And what that is, folks, is if you've not seen it, is they go 3 rounds, 3 minutes each round, and the one who gets the most points, kind of like boxing, 10-9, 10-9 when they rate on who they think should get it. Now, if there's a pin or whatever, it's automatically over. But there's 3 rounds that they basically go by for 3 minutes each round. So we see the first round where Cody ends up starting out with a tornado DDT, but then really that's the only offense because then Moose goes on the offense. I mean, Moose hits a moonsault on him. Then Cody ends up accidentally kicking one of the judges on the outside as Moose ducks out of the way. And then we see Bruce Pritchard coming down. So since the judge is out, Bruce has to be the third judge. And so we see that Cody hits Cody with the Hangman's DDT, and we see that round 1 looks like it for the most part of it goes to the Moose. The second round is much differently because Cody gets more aggressive in this matchup, and he basically counters a power bomb, but then Moose ends up power bombing him on the outside. Cody gets more in offense, so Cody eventually wins the second round. Now, it comes down to the third round. Now, I thought this was an even-keeled round. I thought that both wrestlers were wrestling pretty good. One didn't get really more offense than the other. That whoever won it would either be a draw or it would be one barely inking out who was going to get the champion, who was going to get the win. So it went down to the wire. Nobody got pinned. Nobody submitted. At one point in the second round, Moose was in a submission move, but he held out to make it through the second round. Or to make it to the third round. So that's what happened at one point. But that was as close as anybody came to submitting, or anyone came close to basically getting pinned or submitting and it ending early. So the referee said that it's a split decision, majority decision, that the winner is still Moose. So Moose ends up getting the win and retaining the grand championship. So Moose ends up getting that. So we'll see. Cody will probably still have something to say about that. So we end up seeing Eddie Edwards versus Davey Richards, as mentioned. It showed how they were how they were the Wolves, and they ended up splitting up. And they showed the different things of what's going to happen. And then they announced that next week that both of those guys are going to end it once and for all in a last man standing match. Between these two, they've had some good battles over the last few weeks and feuding. Sad to see that once Davey got back, how popular Eddie got, because remember Eddie won the TNA. At the time TNA heavyweight title. He was our champion, but now we see that he's come back bitter. And he's got Angelina Love now on his side. Maybe she's having influence on him. But needless to say, it's going to be solved next week with a last man standing match. Then we see Karen come to the ring, and to the announce booth, and gives JB a paper, and she kind of basically said, JB makes the announcement stating that next week they're going to have a Knockouts #1 contenders Gauntlet Battle Royal. So that's going to be next week to determine a new #1 to the Knockouts title. That way they can get that whole thing solved, and we won't. And because that was the whole thing, everybody was laying claim to wanting a challenge. So now whoever wins it will be the #1 contender, which I thought was a pretty good idea. You know, that they're trying to do something basically with that. So we cut back after the break. We see KM. He takes on Braxton Sutter. He's pretty a powerful dude. 315, pretty solid. He was trying to generate a lot of heel heat throughout this matchup with Braxton Sutter. It was kind of an even kill match, both going back and forth. We see that it comes to basically to a close when Allie is like, through the whole matchup, you seen Sienna trying to chase Allie. Allie got in the ring at one point, climbed under KM's legs, going and coming, being chased by Sienna. Sienna grabs a hold of Allie outside while Braxton has a hold of KM. That distracts Braxton Sutter. Braxton ends up getting power bombed onto the knees of KM. 1, 2, 3. Your winner is KM. Thanks to that, and we see basically Braxton and Allie come in. They cleared the ring out. We see Lauren Maness. She's still in her wedding gown. She still ain't gotten a shower yet. It's been 35 days since their wedding. She's still torn up by that. They were calling Braxton Sutter the homewrecker because he chose Allie rather than and left her at the altar, and he said he had to go with his feelings. She's still destructive about that and just sad about that. You can still see her makeup smeared, her hair messed up, wedding gown and all. It's just a sight to see. Something you don't typically see, which that's why I like some of their stuff. Is while it's like that, it's pretty good matchup. All right, folks, we come down to it. The main event of Impact Wrestling. This has been broadcast. This is here to determine the new Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. You see that they have had this 4-way tournament. You had LAX, which you had Santana and Santana and Ortiz representing LAX. You had Reno Scum. You had Decay, and you had Garza Jr. and Laredo Kid. Well, it was a tournament. It was a 4-way tag team match. So you tried to basically tag your own guy, but anybody could tag in and fight. So it kind of was like heel with heel. You seen each group take a turn at basically dominating. Garza Jr. was one taking a lot of punishment. And then Laredo Kid did at a point. You did see that one spot where Garza Jr. jumps over the top, does like a swanton on top of everybody. Then Laredo Kid goes out behind him, does the same thing. Pretty cool spot there. Basically, it winds down to where we see that LAX end up they get the tag in. They start double teaming Reno Scum. Then Reno Scum. Then they tag double team Abyss. Rosemary tries to interfere. She gets speared to the outside, and then LAX hits that power bomb, and they end up pinning, getting a 1, 2, 3. As you see in this picture here, they are your new Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. They won it, and Conan told them in the beginning, you bring the titles, don't do what you got to do, bring those titles back. So it looks like we have new Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions, and as you see in the picture here, that's the pose they made before going off the air. So I hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Impact Wrestling Wrap-Up. This is Bill Mack here for Pro Wrestling Unleashed. Take care.